Also have Will Sweeney, son of Dabo Sweeney.
About a ninth grader, isn't he?
I believe so. And then they also have Jake Venables.
And I think, I may be wrong, but he's a big kid. But is he a 10th grader?
Yes, he is.
Okay, so he's got a while to go.
Yes.
He's already said he wants to go to Clemson. But now here's the deal about that kid. His dad may not still be in this part of the country by the time he finishes high school, because I don't know why somebody is going to come and say, hey, we need to talk to you, Coach Venables.
Yeah, one school I would not be surprised to see is Texas if they don't start improving under Charlie Strong.
You think of that Texas at this point. Now, here's the only thing I think about that. Would they take another defensive guy? Or would they want to go and say, look, we need an offensive guy here for a change? And I like to think about those kind of things.
Yeah.
It certainly won't be Muschamp.
No.
So,
no, I think his head coaching gigs may have ceased after the Florida job.
At least for a while.
But, hey, he can make plenty of money being a defensive coordinator the way he is.
Well, and speaking of that, Venables making over $1 million. So,
yeah.
That's not bad. That's not a bad living in this part of the country.
Speaking of offensive guys, if Texas wants to make another hire, I don't think they should at this point with Charlie Strong. I think it's too soon. But if they want an offensive hire, there's a guy down the road
in Dallas.
That I don't see him being at SMU very long if he can prove himself there.
No, I don't either. He will move on. He's loved in that state anyway. And we're talking about Chad Morris, who is now the head coach at SMU with the Mustangs, and has scored over 30 points in all of his games, and he has played some pretty rough competition himself. And once he gets into league play, is that Conference USA or that's the?
I believe they are. They may be
that All-American.
I think they're All-American.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, I digress, which I am prone to do when we're having these conversations, Lake, and because when you say something, triggers a thought in my kind of empty brain, and I get to going. So we'll go on back to Daniel right now. You can.
But yeah, they got a big win over West Oak last week. West Oak fell to 0-4. So
yeah,
they're really hurting right now. They need to win, which we'll get to their game later. But Palmetto needs to see if they can run the ball this week. That's going to be the key. Can they get Tyson Beatty going as their running back again? Because before he played BHP, he was gashing defenses. So that's going to be the key for them, is just seeing if they can get a solid running game, take some pressure off Shaw Crocker to where they don't have to throw it every down, because it got to where that's what they were doing, and they were going 3 and out even faster.
Yeah.
That put even more pressure on the defense. So Doug Shaw told me after the game that they needed to learn from the game and then forget about it. So we'll see if they were able to do that this Friday when they go to Daniel.
Okay.
That wraps us up with the local 3A schools. In 2A, Pendleton is taking their 1-0 record in Skyline 2A against Blacksburg. Big win last week for Pendleton in a game they never trailed. I know there was some...
You went up there, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
No. Okay.
No, but I do realize there were some conflicting internet reports after that game.
Yeah, there was about who won it.
Yes.
And by the way, I was in North Carolina, but where I am, I pick up the local TV stations, and at least one of those people had it backwards too.
Yeah, there were a lot of media outlets that got it wrong. Max Preps had it wrong. I think even the NBC affiliate here in the Greenville area.
Yes,
they had it wrong.
That's what I was watching.
I think they just simply had the scores reversed. So,
well, their crawler had it right.
Yes,
but the announcer read it wrong.
Yes. So,
and that's that can be. I've done that, and I know that you can kind of get yourself. You've got so much going on. I'm amazed that they're able. These TV guys on Friday nights are amazed. I'm amazed that they're able to get as many as they get in, and call names and describe plays and all this kind of stuff. So I think they can be forgiven for one mistake like that.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, if there was a lot of media that got that game wrong.
Yeah.
For anyone still wondering, yes, Pendleton did win that game over Chesney. And for any other fun facts, Chesney was the defending region champions from last year. So big win for Pendleton. Gibson Black, their quarterback, had an outstanding game. He threw 3 touchdowns, 285 yards passing. Right now, he has accounted for 762 yards of total offense, and he has 12 touchdowns combined passing and rushing. So he's having a very good early season. We'll see if he can keep it going. He has a great running back to hand it off to in Naquan Ramsey, who has 381 yards and 5 scores on the season so far.
Okay.
So the Pendleton offense is looking pretty good. Their defense is looking even better.
They play a physical brand of ball up there, too.
Yes, they do. And again, Blacksburg is coming in at 2-2, 0-1. Key game here, because if Pendleton can go up 2-0 in region, that sets them up nicely for a game where they're probably going to have to play an undefeated Woodruff later in the season.
They've done that many, many times. Yes. An undefeated Woodruff coming in.
And honestly, I think to win this region, you're going to have to go undefeated or only have one loss because of Woodruff. They are that good, and they're able to score a lot of points really quick. They run a similar system what Burns used to do under Bentley. They're taking it to Woodruff, and it's working.
Yeah. In fact, they stole the Woodruff coach to come back to Burns. Yes. After all that.
Speaking of Woodruff, they will be in the area this week. Powdersville is heading over to Woodruff to play them. So this will be a battle of unbeatens. Powdersville comes in at 2-2 overall. The Wolverines are 3-1 so far. Big thing for Powdersville, it looks like they've finally settled on a quarterback. There was a little competition between Emory Williams and Chandler Jones. They've settled on Emory Williams. So he brings a little bit more mobility to the system. Probably not quite the thrower Chandler Jones is. But I think with how they are right now with their offensive line, they need someone a little more mobile back there that can maybe create when a play breaks down. But also big for them has been the emergence of sophomore E.J. Humphrey. He's listed as a wide receiver, but he has kind of become a slash player for them. He catches and he also runs the ball for them.
Kind of like Artavius Scott at Clemson. They use him on those little. They call it the jet sweep, and a lot of the passing yardage that teams like Clemson get is you throw it 3 yards out there to a guy like him, and he goes 80 for you, and that looks like a pass play. So this is the kind of guy you're talking about.
Yeah, he's very much in that similar style where he's not the big offensive threat you have at a wide receiver, but he's probably more of a slot guy that also catches sweeps and all that. So,
yeah.
Also, a player we mentioned in the preview was Jacoby Buford, their regular running back. He had a little bit of a down stretch for 2 games, but last week in their win over Liberty, which they won 35-7, he started to reemerge, and it'd be interesting to see if they can continue that strong running game against Woodruff, which is probably a little bit better right now than Liberty is.
I would think so. Sometimes coaches don't tell us all the way. A running back like that, he could have a nick, a bruise. He could have a little dinky thing that they don't want to tell you about, and it could affect him in several ways, and some of that is mental.
But it'll be a big game for Powdersville. If they can pull the upset, it puts them in prime position there with Pendleton possibly. And also, it'll help Pendleton out a little bit if Woodruff already has a loss heading into that game with them.
So, yeah.
So, I know for a fact head coach Robert Mustar and his staff are going to have a plan, but it'll just see how they do in the execution of it against Woodruff.
Okay.
Finally, in 2A, Liberty is going to play Landrum. These are 2 teams that are 0-1 in the region right now. Liberty comes in at 1-3 overall. Landrum is 2-2. Liberty had a setback last week after holding Walhalla to a 21-0 shutout. It'll be key to see if they can bounce back against Landrum. Traditionally, Landrum has a pretty good offense. That's not really the case this year. They're a little helter-skelter. They'll have some games where they put up a lot of points, and there are other games where they just have not shown up. So the question for that game is going to be which Landrum offense shows up. If the offense that they think they have and want to have show up, it could be a tough game for Liberty. But if Liberty is able to shore up their defense a little bit and the Landrum offense that they don't want shows up, I see no reason why Liberty can't at least make this game competitive and have a shot to win it there in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
And if there's anything else you have to add, Landrum lost to Carolina Academy last week. That's a surprising loss because Carolina Academy is typically not a very dangerous football school.
No, at one time, many years ago, they had a streak. They were not bad. It was back in the days when it was just Carolina High. And back in the 70s. And since then, it has just kind of gone downhill. They have hired some fairly well-known guys they thought could coach for them, and it just has not worked. And
finally, it's probably a game we said we were mentioning, just kind of got lost in the shuffle. West Oak is going to take on Pickens.
That'd be a good ball game.
I think so. It'll reunite John Boggs with one of his old rivals in West Oak from his days at Walhalla. So Pickens is 1-3 heading into this one overall. As I mentioned, West Oak's 0-4. You don't want to say your season's over if you dropped 0-2 in the region, but it doesn't look good. You never want to put yourself behind the 8 ball like that, especially in that tough of a region.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
0-2, you're pretty much out of it for a region title shot, but you're also struggling for the playoff picture as well. And only 2 weeks into the season, that can be a demoralizing loss to either team.
Yeah, it's bad to that you're out of the playoff. We've had a problem here. All right, we back yet? Sometimes that thing just stops on me, and I hope we didn't miss too much there. So that pretty well takes care of the teams in this particular area, except for one that I'm going to talk about when you bring up the top teams. There's one that I wanted to bring up. Okay. That not in the okay.
And of course, finally, as we mentioned earlier, Crescent is off. Crescent is off this week. Next week they will play Batesburg Leesville, who we will mention very soon when we get into the polls.
Yes. Okay, so let's get to before we go to let's go ahead to the polls. Let's go ahead and start out, of course, with the 4A, soon to be 5As. It's add an A is all they did. Yeah.
Not much has changed in the 4A poll this week, especially near the top. Spartanburg remains number 1. Burns is at number 2, and Hillcrest is at number 3. Fort Dorchester is the only team from the lower part of the state in the 4A poll, and they come in at number 4. Big move this week was Westside. They moved to number 6 this week.
Shocked me when I saw it. There were
some big losses that happened.
Didn't play.
Yeah,
they moved up. Yeah,
Greenwood lost a game. Dorman lost. I think even Westwood lost as well. So all that losing in front of Westside just simply bumped them up. To finish it out, York comes in at number 7. Dorman, which lost a tough game there, dropped to number 8. North Augusta sneaks into the poll.
Yeah.
And Lexington, who Westside bounced out of the poll in week 1, come back in at number 10.
Okay. And one of the things that happened in 4A school, there's a guy named Stephen Davis who was a superstar, high school All-American at Spartanburg, went to Auburn, had a fantastic career, and played in the pros, mostly with the Redskins, and he got kind of hurt up. But his son, Stephen Jr., plays down at Dutch Fork and has been every school around wanted him. In fact, he was committed to play defensive back at Auburn. Mm-hmm. Due to some other injuries, in fact, on the Dutch Fork ball team, they moved him to running back. And in a couple of games, he'd picked up a couple of hundred yards, scored 7 touchdowns. And last week, early in the game, tore an ACL. And is out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, there's a little bit of controversy behind that torn ACL as well.
Is there? Tell me about it. What you know?
Talking to one of my fellow writers over in that part of the state, the team they were playing against, there was some accusations thrown that they might have been going after his knee with how they were tackling.
So, is that right?
Neither the opposing coach has not come out and confirmed or denied it. But
he has not even denied it?
He said that's not what they do. But if you look at the tape, some of the tackles, and as I realize, as the game goes on, play goes on, sometimes you find yourself in odd situations and odd positions when you make tackles. But there were some pile-ups that looked a little questionable to me.
You've seen the tape on it?
I've seen a little bit of
part of it, yeah.
but regardless.